So we know Apple's known to do this with its iPhones. Every other year they release the S-line devices, but now it looks like DJI is following the same strategy with its latest drone. They had the Mavic Air 2 last year, most recently the Mini 2, and also the DJI FPV, so they have an extensive lineup of drones, but the latest one is the DJI Air 2S. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what it is, what's new, what's different, and why it's so special. Now there's one thing that I really love about the Air 2S, it's the brand new camera here. It features a larger 1-inch sensor, it's a 20 megapixel camera, and that's bigger than the camera in the Mavic Air 2. So the results here are gonna be night and day. You're gonna get better looking images, sharper looking visuals, more detail, greater dynamic range. If you intend on editing your footage in post, you're just gonna have a lot more room to work with, because now, even in lower lighting situations, that larger sensor will absorb more light, so you're not gonna see too much blurring going on. And again, the dynamic range will work well because you're not gonna have a lot of noise in the shadows. With the new sensor, the DJI Air 2S tops out at a maximum video resolution of 5.4K capture at 30 frames per second. That is a benchmark because most drones top out at 4K 30 frames per second. So for a content creator, this is wonderful because now you have more footage to work with, especially if you export in 1080p. You could crop into the image without losing too much detail. And overall, it's just nice having more to play around with. Even if you've never flown a drone before, if this is your first time flying, you could fly the DJI Air 2S in confidence because it's one of the safest ones out there. It features APAS 4.0, so now they've introduced another set of sensors into the drone. So before it had 3 different ones, now you have 4 sets. So you have upwards, which is the new one. So this allows the drone to detect what's in front of it. If there is something, it'll notify or even stop the drone in its track. In addition to that, there's the new ActiveTrack 4.0. Now, I like this feature with the original Mavic Air 2 because it allowed the drone to follow a subject all by itself without having me to actually fly the drone. But with this latest version, it just makes it easier because of that new set of sensors on board. It'll know if it's coming close to an object. So it makes it just easy to actually follow someone and have the drone do everything by itself. One of the things I loved about the Mavic Air 2 was that they introduced OcuSync 2.0, which gave really reliable video transmission between the drone and the controller. So here with the Air 2S, we're getting OcuSync 3.0. So they pushed the range from 10 kilometers to now 12 kilometers, so you can have that reliable transmission. But in my first time flying it, I did notice that the video did get cut off and had to restart the app, but luckily it looks like they fixed the issue because they released a firmware update shortly after, and I haven't seen that issue again. So just like before, you're going to have all the usual set of quick shot modes. So you have things like droney, circle, rocket, asteroid. These are predetermined preset modes where the drone will either rocket all the way up, do some pannings around you, and it just makes it easy because the drone's doing everything by itself. What's nice here is that you don't have to be a pro to capture some amazing looking videos with the Air 2S, because now they have this new feature called MasterShots. So essentially, the drone will make some predetermined flight paths, capture the content needs, and make the video for you. So now you have basically a shareable clip that looks like a pro made it. The design doesn't change too much here. The only major difference is, of course, the weight. Because of that larger sensor, the drone now weighs 595 grams versus 570, but still retains the same foldable design as before, so it's very compact and something that's travel friendly. If you're an owner of the DJI Mavic Air 2, you should know that the battery on that drone is compatible with this one, so you could swap them out. If you own the original, you could use the battery still, which is great, but just because the Air 2S has a larger camera, makes the drone a little bit heavier, the battery life goes from 34 minutes down to 31 minutes. It's not bad, I still think it's great, but just know it's not going to be quite as good as the Mavic Air 2. I really like how the DJI Air 2S handles. It's really responsive and fast. It has a top speed of 42 miles per hour when you have it set to sport mode. Now, if you don't feel too comfortable flying it in that mode, you could drop it down to the normal mode and even the slower cinematic mode so you get some really slow movements. So who's this drone for? Honestly, I think it's for anyone, whether you're a first-time user, you're a beginner, if you're going to be using it to produce some commercial or professional work. The DJI Air 2S just has that balance between features and performance, especially with that brand new sensor. You can get some incredible looking photos and videos out of it. But that brings me to my point. It kind of intrudes on the Mavic Pro line because that's what made that line special with its larger sensor. But you're getting it here with the Air 2S, so to me, it's a no-brainer at this point, which is the better drone.